Adam sat at a massive wall of screens poring over the data from Ulfric's lab. Night Shadow spoke out of the darkness as he drew close. "How did the reconnaissance of the lab go?"
"I evaded night shift, at least."
"It was guarded?"
"Yeah. The equipment was expensive, and these blueprints and formulas I scanned are complex. Way beyond what I know. Some serious science was going on in there."
"It was connected?"
They both turned. Kathy stepped out of one of the hallways nearby and approached the computer.
"Yeah, good call on following that paper trail with that budget you found,"
Blue affirmed.
"So this is the mysterious money pit Hrax is funding as some kind of hidden charity? What are they researching there?"
"I'm not sure."
Blue mused, rubbing his chin and then wincing at the bruises and slight swelling he still had from fighting the massive man. Night Shadow glanced at Adam's pain, then returned his gaze to the monitors. He lifted a finger and pointed to one of the scans of the blueprints. "These formulas are biological, and these are some kind of obscure science journals on synthetic symbiosis as a medical treatment." A moment of silence passed between them until Kathy broke it.
"Whatever it is, he can't have good plans for it if Hrax is the sole funding behind it."
"I agree, Kathy. Adam, how was the infiltration?"
"Tight. I was barely in there a second before I was hiding, and the guard was tenacious."
"Very well. Kathy, we'll use more of your bugs. Adam, keep healing up. Meanwhile, I'll have you on more recon on some other cases until you're 100% again." They all parted ways. Night Shadow up the stairs, Kathy to her workshop table to work on her listening bugs, and Adam stayed at the monitors inspecting his wounds again, and looking back up at the monitors with furrowed brows.
"I'm going to plant these bugs and see you guys later. I have more work to do for school."
A very sleepy Adam waved her off as her scooter fired up, and she drove out the layer's driveway ramp. Stepping into his bedroom in the cave, Adam attempted to pull his shirt off and barely managed, as the pain of that movement was still too raw after the hasty acrobatics of the lab mission hurt some of his 2-week-old wounds. He decided to just sleep in the rest of his clothes. He lowered himself onto his bed as carefully as he could, and then looked over at the pain meds next to it on the nightstand. He started to reach for them, but suddenly felt a little better. Maybe he didn't need them tonight, but he was just hurting and didn't want to wake up in pain. But then he was asleep. Morning. But really it was afternoon. Adam woke to find he had slept almost 14 hours. He had been given extra rest time to repair his body as per Night Shadow's orders, and his own wisdom about such. But how did he sleep that long, and all through the night? The meds must have helped. But wait, he didn't take any. He finally stood and walked to the mirror. Wow. The swelling had gone down, and some of the bruising was already fading. He changed some bandages as well. Were the cuts only scabs now? And where were the stitches? With a confused look on his face, he made his way to the lair kitchen and discovered he was ravenous. Opening the fridge, everything looked good. The pantry was calling his name as well. His body must be repairing fast. It must be hungry for more materials to rebuild with. He wondered if there was a steroid in that medication as well. But wait, he hadn't taken it last night. But that thought could wait. It was time to chow down, and so he did. Sometime later he was satisfied, but also wondering just how much he'd eaten, and alert. He stood and darted from the room. Arriving at the computer, he saw just a liquor store robbery, not another bank.
"Hi there, sleepyhead,"
Kathy said. Adam turned to see her smirking up at his very bizarre bedhead he suspected he had.
"Oh, it's just another liquor store. Too bad it's not a bank. We could use another lead,"
she said, then looked down.
"Nice shirt,"
she complimented, then turned to walk to her gadget table of bugs and listening devices. Adam looked down at the black t-shirt he was sporting.
"Thanks,
He couldn't recall putting it on.
don't know where it came from,"
he said as he touched it, and his brow furrowed deep in confused thought.
"That's okay. I wasn't looking to buy a new one. College money is tight as it is."
Kathy responded as she worked, not knowing what he meant. What was going on here? Did he have a concussion? Was it something he ate? Pain med side effects? Why was he having these sudden memory lapses?
I'm going to sit down for a second.
Kathy mumbled as she focused on soldering the circuitry of her bugs, focused on her work. He needed to train. His daily exercises still needed to get done. He would have to go light, though, as he was still wounded. All the better, though, as he had just eaten.
I'm going to go train.
Be careful,
She idly said as she stared down through a massive magnifying glass. Adam, shorts only, was in the training room. Sweat dripped down his unclothed, muscular upper body. The black shirt lay on a chair nearby. A post with poles sticking out of it made for hand-to-hand combat training stood still as Adam's hands passed in and out between the pieces of wood. His focused glare was intense, yet his mind seemed elsewhere. He seemed to be seeing something else. The behemoth who did this to him. Who beat him. His speed began to intensify. It grew more and more, faster and faster.
That giant freak. Steroided up. Human growth hormone, probably.
Subtly, part of what he had on turned to black tendrils, and reached out, crawled and pulled up his body. But he felt nothing. His focus was on the hits, and the giant who defeated him, unmasked him, and didn't even care, didn't even know who he was. The black, slithery, oozing tendrils began to pull up towards his head. They reached across his chest, connecting in the middle. The wood began to splinter upon his impacts. Then finally, snap and pop and break. Pieces of wood flew in random directions as his fists and palms and impacts started to bust the training post, and the thing that was on him pulled itself over his face, creating a grotesque mouth with razor-sharp teeth and wicked eye covers as a swing kick busted the wooden post in half.
Adam.
He stopped. The black ooze yanked itself back off his face and vanished to appear just as shorts. Adam took no notice.
Adam?
Kathy was calling from somewhere in the cave. He grabbed a black towel off a nearby chair and walked towards the door, then froze, seeing the wood on the floor. He turned a curious gaze back into the room and saw the wood post busted. His brows knitted again with confusion. He finally looked down at his hands and the bandages on his body, then looked back up at the post, then stepped out of the room, brow furrowing again in confused thought.
There you are.
Kathy stood next to the massive computer and its many screens.
Is there a break in the case?
Nothing yet, but I have some new bugs I wanted to show you guys. Have you seen Night Shadow around?
She noticed the sweat.
Training again?
Adam didn't respond, still lost in his thoughts.
Is something wrong?
He suddenly snapped out of it.
Oh, no, nothing.
He faintly smiled reassuringly.
Oh, okay. Now, these new bugs I made are from some experimental schematics I found on the...
What was that?
Adam pondered as Kathy trailed on.
Oh, and Adam, I think you need to take a look at this.
Adam turned the corner and looked over Kathy's shoulder.
What's up?
It's the papers and schematics you took from the lab. I analyzed them against all known patents and found some similarities, but this one is still fairly unique.
Adam squinted at the screen with some confusion.
It looks like a variant of a plasma gasifier, but amplified, and... Is that what I think it is?
Yes, it's a different schematic, but it appears to be some form of a fission device.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
I know, unless Hrax is simply looking to make some kind of power grab with actual power?
Keep your ears to the ground on this. It could be huge.
I'll take a look at the records and meetings at the local places.
All right, and I'm going to go on patrol.
Adam said as he walked back towards the showers and reached for the towel he had laid across his shoulder. It wasn't there. He looked around.
Did you...
He asked as he couldn't spot it on the floor. She continued gazing at the PC monitors as she pored over the plans.
Did I what?
She absently asked, as she put her biology notes to work, attempting to interpret the files taken from the reclusive and mysterious Dr. Ulfric's lab.
Nothing.
Adam finally let it go. Another memory lapse, probably. He did need some air.